The psychology we at present possess is the testimony of few individuals here and there regarding what they have found within themselves. This quote comes from Carl Gustav Jung, a major figure in the field of psychology and beyond. I'd like to take you with me as I journey through a life of meaningful work. Since it would take too much time to talk about his biography and his work, I will focus on his greatest accomplishments and contributions. Jung was born in 1875. He received his medical degree in 1900 and dedicated himself to psychiatry. He began his work in the field of psychology with an experimental test using free association. Free association is when a patient is prompted to respond to randomly chosen word sets with whatever comes to his or her mind first. For this work, Jung was recognized around the world. Following this achievement, Jung began to work alongside Sigmund Freud, another major name in psychology for developing the psychoanalytic theory. Even though Jung believed that personality had biological underpinnings, he was not convinced that it could be reduced to sexual urges. This created a major rift between Freud and Jung, and so they split. And Jung set off to open his own practice where he focused on myths and legends. He also began to focus on dream analysis. He was interested in things like alchemy and Kabbalah, which were both growing popular during his time. Through all of his studies, it became clear that he was somehow lacking in understanding. He soon found that in order to identify with his patients, he needed to look within himself. Jung spent a lot of time focusing on his own dreams and personality. What came out of that internal journey created a whole new world waiting to be discovered. Jung eventually began to compile his own theories about personality and human life. He ended up straying quite far from where he began with Freud. He found that isolation was a myth. It was only when a person was alone that they could truly understand the multiple pieces that they were built from. Jung coined the term individuation as a process by which a human being becomes an individual. For Jung, becoming an individual meant transforming into a separate, indivisible unity or whole. This process was a way of understanding both the conscious and unconscious aspects of the self, through dreams, visions, experiences, and emotions. The unconscious he described as being a person's potential, what will come in the future, and therefore is unknown and chaotic. The conscious, he felt, was much like the ego in Freud's theory. The ego operates the day-to-day actions and reactions to the internal and external worlds we live in. Through the individuation process, the goal is to unite these opposing sides. The conscious should protect its reasoning, and the unconscious should be set free. In order to get to this place, Jung explored the concept of archetypes. Now, in other realms of study, archetypes are specific character models that show up in stories the exact same way and play their role just as we would expect them to. Jung's archetypes are completely different. Each one is identifiable within and without a person, and in their own terms. He believed that by experiencing and getting to know the archetypes, a person could truly understand the self. It is important to note that Jung did not believe archetypes were easily definable. He wrote a lot about the contrasts of the archetypes and how they appear in different people. He also identified the existence of a shadow side of archetypes. These archetypes were not only an individual experience, they were also expressed within the collective unconscious, which I will get to later. Some of the most notable archetypes include the child, the mother, the animus or anima, the wise old man, and the shadow. To define them is only to scratch the surface, but I will explain the basics of each of these. The child relates directly to the individual and their role in the world. The mother typically relates to relationships with others. The animus or anima represents positive and negative emotions. The wise old man is relative to the search for meaning, and the shadow is the side of the person that is almost always hidden from the world. As you can see, these are quite vague and left up for interpretation, but this is precisely what Jung was getting at. Archetypes are not meant to tell you who you are meant to explore how each of them expresses themselves within your life. This brings me to the collective unconscious. Jung believed in an attainable yet elusive history that lives within and without man, kind of like the archetypes. It is the collective experience that a person can tap into at any time and be filled with knowledge that is not found in books, or in our time, the internet. This may seem far-fetched, but this was his analysis of what Einstein discovered regarding quantum physics. Each person is simply a piece of the puzzle that creates the whole world. Reactions are converted into experience due to the actions of another person. And the effects are felt far and wide, so that person who you have never met on the other side of the world actually has some type of impact on you. Jung also focused his practice and theories of man on the idea of synchronicity. He opened up this realm of thought when he began treating a patient with dream analysis. The woman he was treating spoke of a dream she had that starred a golden scarab. While the woman was explaining the dream, a magical and unexplainable event took place. A scarab beetle was attempting to get into the room via the closed window. Jung went to the window and allowed the beetle to come in. This experience led him to believe that all occurrences, both unconscious and conscious, are connected. A synchronicity, for Jung, is when the two worlds meet. Jung became intrigued with these occurrences and adapted his personal life to fit his theoretical work. It was in his own individuation process that he wrote on various subjects about man and the world around him. Jung covered a wide range of topics from politics, society, the human condition, dreams, symbols, and the importance of myths. From Jung's own experiences, he came to see man as only evolving if he could take a good look at himself. Anyone who refused to do so would stay trapped in a disconnected state. Jung believed that to stay disconnected meant not being able to fully live in the moment. His appreciation for life and all he experienced around him was a direct result of his own individuation process. Jung worked on writing his theories right up until the time of his death in 1961. He has left a world of knowledge behind for us to discover and decide for ourselves if we will take the first step to answering one of life's toughest questions. Who am I? I will leave you with a quote from Carl Jung that I think really rounds out the whole of his work and contributions. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks within awakes. Thank you.